Hey everyone, welcome to the first video in our series about flexibility for the inflexible. I am Coach Matt from Nerd Fitness. I'm super excited to lead you through this today. If you haven't seen a chance to see our live stream yet, on the live stream I talk a lot about setting expectations, figuring out how we're going to track progress over time, as well as some of the techniques we're going to be using and why we're using this method in order to improve flexibility. So I'd recommend checking out that, or at least skimming through the notes from that live stream after the fact if you want to learn a little bit more. Today we're going to be working on our toe touch sequence. So this is testing and retesting how far we can get in our toe touch. With the toe touch, the thing we want to do, and I might be getting cut off in this video because I can't see 100%. But with the toe touch, what we want to do is start with our feet together, legs completely straight. I'm just going to bend over and reach down with my hands still in contact with my leg to see how far down I can get. We're going to test this over the course of the entire time together to see what improves, but I also recommend using this as a test in between sequences so you can kind of see if your body is immediately responding to the different things that we're doing. There might be things that actually make you feel tighter, and that's something to key in on because maybe there's something within that movement that we weren't set up with all the way, or maybe that movement just isn't the right progression for you right now. So it's a good way to kind of check in with yourself. So I'm going to stand up and do a quick toe touch. I've been sitting in a chair and riding a bike, and I am super tight. So I know for me, mid-shin is pretty tight and restricted. So hopefully by the end of our session today, we're going to see some changes there. All right, so just done our toe touch, and we're going to get into the sequence. I'm going to actually track this using the Nerd Fitness coaching app because it should give us an actual timer that is going to talk to us and tell us what the next movement is. That way we can go through it together. So here we go. We're going to start off with two movements, a leg lower down. I'm going to show you guys different variations and progressions for that so we can find something that feels good. And then a Jefferson curl.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Band leg lower down.
Thank you. So for the band leg lower down, I have a thick band here, or I have a towel. I'm going to hook the towel around a foot, lock that leg out straight, pull the toes in towards my face. And then with the other leg, I'm going to lift up and down. Now, what I want to do here is make sure I'm not getting a huge arch in my back. And in order to make this easier, I'm going to release this so I don't have to go as high. In order to make it harder, I'm going to pull in. I want to find a place where I just have a gentle stretch on the back of this leg. We don't want anything intense. You should be able to breathe the whole time. So we're doing an active hold here and an active full range of motion on this side. Again, breathing in and out through the nose if you can.
Rest.
Okay. Now I'm going to switch sides to the other side. If you're finding yourself still getting a little arch in your lower back when you're doing this, we can do something to set up the hips to release back. So I'm using an ab mat, but you can put a towel and just roll the little bit of your butt up, and then I'm going to set up on the other side, and this can make it a lot easier because a lot of times people are restricted in their hamstrings, not even because the hamstring is too tight, but because their pelvis is rotated and arched. So if we can help roll that pelvis back and flatten out that lower back, that could give you a lot more range of motion just there. And again, we're going to do this on a timer because I want you guys moving at your own pace. Do what feels good. That was our first sequence. We're going to come back to that one more time. So we use a towel or a band for the leg lower. Now we're going to go into a Jefferson for this one. What we want to do is stand straight up. I'm going to have my feet together, tuck my chin to my chest, and slowly I'm going to drop. Like my back is a string of pearls. My hands are going to stay on contact with my legs. And I'm basically doing like a super slow motion toe touch. And you can see I'm already a little bit lower than I was with my toe touch a little bit earlier. And then to stand back up, I want you to squeeze your butt and come up nice and tall with your butt squeezed. And then we're gonna tuck the chin, relax through the upper back. Keep relaxing, keep breathing, keep the fingers lightly in touch with the body. Just go as low as you can. As soon as you get to that point where you feel like your knees might want to bend or you're feeling anything feels sketchy, it is sketchy, so stop. And then squeeze the butt. Come right back up. And just go for one more. If you're doing this on your own and the timer doesn't perfectly line up with what you're doing, that's okay. You can go ahead and finish out that rep and we'll come back to it. So I'm gonna come back to my towel. We're gonna go through that sequence all one more time, second time through. So I'll lay back, toe pulled towards me, lifting the other leg up and down. I don't need to go all the way down to the ground with this foot because I'm trying to still keep my lower back relatively flat here. So if I go down to the ground and I feel that back pop, we don't need to go that low. Just work within what you got. Keep breathing. I'm realizing I'm using this as a pillow. You don't need that either. And just work within where, again, you could be starting way down here. Up here, you might have a lot more range. Just meet yourself where you're at today, and it can change day to day as you go through this based on everything else that's going on. If you're carrying tension or stress, you want to make sure you're just treating yourself, finding that gentle area. Like we talked about in the live stream, how we increase flexibility, especially in the short term, is teaching your nervous system, your brain, that a range of motion is safe and that you have strength and you can create strength and control there. So if we are moving into an area where we're holding our breath, we're bearing down, we're having a lot of trouble controlling that range, likelihood is that, so like here, right? Likelihood is that range of motion isn't going to stick around for very long if it's going to improve at all. So I like to think about that. Like I'm trying to teach my brain a lesson that, hey, I got this, we're okay here, and we're gonna work through this and learn this new range of motion together. So go ahead and finish out a couple more reps there. And then we're going to do that Jefferson curl one more time. If that Jefferson curl was easy for you, maybe your hands are already hitting the floor and you want to make it harder. Or if sometimes, even just with a little assistance, it can feel good. And we're going to use assistance by using a lightweight. I would recommend starting with like 5 or 10 pounds. I have a 25 pound here. And I'm going to do that same thing. It is okay with a lightweight, if your back feels fine, to actually go down into this movement and let this help gently pull you down. You'll see gymnasts do this and actually be able to reach their hands past their feet and then maybe standing on a block because they need more range of motion. If you find that you're hitting the ground and you need a little bit more of that range of motion, like if I can reach down to here, but then I still want to squeeze my butt and come up nice and slow. So you could add a weight there. Again, you don't have to if you feel uncomfortable with that. Drop a message in the channel and we can talk through it. But tucking, rounding one segment at a time, and you'll see again, when I started, I was mid-shin. I start getting some tension about a quarter of the way at the shin. So I am seeing some improvement from that superset. So that's our first sequence. We're gonna do a leg lower down on each leg, and then we're gonna do some slow spinal rolls down, also called Jefferson curls. I'm gonna do 2 rounds of that. Go at your own pace. If you feel like something is working for you and you wanna spend some more time there, go ahead and do that. Hopefully you'll pick up enough tips and tricks as we go through this video that you feel comfortable coming back to these movements on your own as well. All right, next one up. I'm gonna start my timer. This one, we're gonna do
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hamstring variations. So for a hamstring variation, the idea is that we're gonna stretch out one leg at a time. You can start this from a seated position where I have one leg out and I'm gonna have the heel down, toe up. What I wanna do is push my butt back and lean forward, trying to keep a relatively flat back as I do that, and then I'm gonna drive back up. So I'm driving my heel into the ground and then leaning forward to get a gentle stretch here. When I get to the last 10 seconds of this movement, I'm gonna lean forward and hold, drive the heel into the ground, squeeze the quad, feel a lot of tension. This is our kind of pulsing movement with an active hold. With the pulse, the idea is that we are creating strength and tension in the end range. We're never doing anything that feels like, again, I'm going too much, I don't want to feel too much stretch. It should feel comfortable. And I'm obviously too big for this kid's foam block. But now I'm going to do this on the other side. If you feel comfortable, the way I like to do this is actually from the floor. So you can have your hand on something for balance, but I'm going to be on one knee. You can see that my hips are open here. And what I'm going to do is leaning back, and you can actually see that hip, knee bend and hinge, and then squeeze the butt to come up nice and tall. Again, developing that strength through this range of motion, showing that I have control as I'm driving that heel down to the ground, and then driving this knee into the ground and squeezing the butt to come back up to tall. Breathing in and out through the nose. Making sure you're respecting where your body's at today. Don't overdo it. You can do the seated variation, or you can come up into this kneeling variation. I'm gonna hold for the last, we missed it, but we're gonna hold for the last 10 seconds. I might come up out of that. Next, we're gonna go into a quad stretch. You can use a bench. The first one is if it's painful for you to be on your knee, we're gonna stand, I'm gonna grab the foot, but in order to get the benefit of the stretch, what I wanna do is squeeze my butt on this side and also drop my ribs down. That's what's gonna help me get into that hip flexor and quad as I pull back. Most people, if we pull back and we're arched, we're missing that stretch. So squeeze the butt, drop the ribs down. You can see I'm almost like bracing my core, then pull back and hold to get the stretch. If you can go to the floor, then we're gonna get you can put a towel under the knee, a blanket, but I'm gonna hook my foot up on a couch or a chair, and you're gonna see the same things. I'm gonna squeeze the butt, drop the ribs down and in, and really try to keep my hips squared up, pointing to the front. I can place both hands on the opposite knee and take deep breaths. And I'm trying to actively squeeze through the butt as much as I can the whole time. So now we're going to switch sides. Again, pick the variation that works for you. If you feel like you wanted to try a different one, you can restart the video, go back. Basically, every stretch is basically timed to 1 minute. So if you scroll back 1 minute, you can restart with us if you feel like you needed extra time to get it set up. Deep breaths. Slowly moving into a new range of motion after you feel more comfortable. Last 10 seconds.
Rest.
All right. And we're going to go through that sequence again. Since this is our first time through this, that first time through that sequence when we're kind of going on the timer might really just be kind of figuring out what the heck is going on.
Variations.
And then the second round might be the one that you're actually getting the bulk of the work in. That's okay for right now. We're going to keep progressing these over the course of the the flexibility challenge together here. Back to my hamstring variation. So again, I can do the seated with the leg out, or I can do it kneeling on the floor. I have my mat out, which makes it nice and gentle on my knees to be in this position. You don't want to, again, pain is not our friend. We want to find a position where we can breathe, work on the strength, driving that heel into the ground, keeping the toe pulled up, feeling the quad tight, and then squeezing through the hip to come back up. We got about 10 seconds left, so let's go ahead and drive down and hold, breathe.
Rest.
And we're gonna rest, I'm gonna shake that out. We'll go to the other side. And this is also our first time trying something like this video, so
Hamstring variations.
still trying to figure out how the timing works best for everybody. And be very open and welcome to any feedback on how we can make this better. It's a little balance challenge sometimes too, which is actually not a bad thing, because if it is a balance challenge, it means that you're going to be getting more stability, and if you can learn how to balance in that position, and stability equals strength, which equals letting the brain know, hey, I'm cool, I got this, we good here.
Rest.
Great. Now I'm going back into the quad stretch. Again, you can do that standing. The big things we're thinking about is we're going to squeeze the butt, drop the ribs down and in,
Quad stretch. Bench.
and maintain that. This is more of an active hold. There's not a ton of movement or range of motion here. I'm always thinking squeeze the butt, or like roll the hips back and under me, and then drop the rib cage down. If you imagine that your pelvis and your ribs are two halves of a broken eggshell, we're trying to get those things to line back up. If I'm here, I'm not going to be hitting it. Here, they're going to be more aligned. Focusing on those deep breaths in and out through my nose. Got this.
Rest.
Okay, one more. Other side. Left side, strong side.
Quad stretch.
Drop a comment if you
Bench.
know what movie that's from. If you didn't see the live stream, little background on me. Played sports in high school, but hurt my back early and often, even in high school age. Was super tight chronically. My dad's always been super tight, can barely sit cross-legged on the floor or get up and down off the floor. And so flexibility just never it felt like something I kept working on. I could never figure out the right combination of things. And I would try all these different systems out. Yoga, functional range conditioning, original strength, gymnastics-based stretching, weight loaded stretching, like progressive loaded stretching, all these different ones. What I found was the truth lay in the middle, a little combination of all these different things picking up. Really, really helped. So I'm hoping to share those lessons with you guys. All right. We got one final superset that we're going to go through. This one, we're actually going to start hitting the calves more, and we're going to be doing a full active range of motion movement, and then more of a static hold after that. So the calves, a lot of people don't think of when they hit the toe touch, but they are a big part of everything on the back side of the body. Hamstrings bleed right into the calves all the way down the back. And I have seen like calves can sometimes be the limiting factor for people here. So we're going to do these off the ground, but if you have like a low stair and you want to increase the range of motion, you can do it off of that. And then we're going to do a stretch right after that. So really don't need anything other than a stair if you want it for this next sequence. Nerd Fitness Coaching app commence.
4, 3, 2.
So the first one, we're going to go
Calf raises 3
feet
ways.
together, toes straight ahead, and I'm going to go up on the balls of my feet, making sure I'm pressing and anchoring through both the ball of my pinky toe and the ball of my big toe. We're going to do these for about 20 seconds. Then I'm going to turn my feet out like a duck. You guys can see that. Turn my feet out like a duck. And now continuing to make sure I keep equal pressure between my big toe and my pinky toe. I'm going to do about 20 seconds of these. And then you probably guessed it. Now we're going to go in. Now, if any of these positions feel funky on your knee or hip or anything like that, golden rule. If it feels sketchy, it is sketchy. So you can try doing less of an intense angle, or you can try just keeping the feet straight ahead and doing those straight ahead calf raises the whole time. That's totally fine. Okay, next we're going to go into a stretch. So I'm going to shake that out. I'm going to show you a couple variations. One is on the wall. I can press in on the wall, lean forward, and I keep this back knee straight and the heel driven to the ground. And I can get a stretch here. And then halfway I'll switch and drop my knee forward to get a different part of my calf. So now I'm dropping the knee forward rather than driving the hip forward. That's one way to do the stretch. The other way is to come down to the ground. I'm going to take a knee, open my foot up about 45 degrees, and I'm going to turn and lean in and try to put my chest on my thigh. And what we want to feel is maybe a stretch in this back groin and a stretch on this calf. And I can even press down on my knee. I'm keeping the heel down and I'm leaning in here and just holding in that position. And if you feel the stretch one place and the other, that's okay. You're going to find the area that's most tight for you. It doesn't have to be in one specific spot.
Rest.
Okay, so that was kind of the demo set. Now we're going to go to the other side. Again, you can do this on the wall. You want to do both with a straight leg and with a bent knee. Or we can go here, out 45 degrees, lean into that. I'm going to try to put my chest on it. Make sure my knee is lined up over the middle of my foot still. So I don't want to come forward and collapse that knee in. Taking deep breaths. Now, I've been bike riding for the first time with the kids in tow on a trailer for the last 2 days, and my inner thigh is incredibly sore and tight. So that is actually where I'm feeling the stretch more right now. But again, that's okay.
Rest.
All right, last time through, guys. Doing great. So we're going to go back to those calf raises. Start off with the toes straight ahead.
Calf raises 3 ways.
And I'm going to come up. Then we're going to switch, toes out. If you are a member of the Nerd Fitness coaching program, I have created some workout templates with these workouts, with these timers all set up. So if you would like to have the timer to be able to do this on your own time and not necessarily following along with the video where I'm explaining things and the timing might not be perfectly on point, talk to your coach. I can send them over to your coach and share them. And then you guys can even adjust things and tweak them for exactly what works for you. You switch the toes in. I didn't say that. My bad. All right. And now we're going into that calf stretch. So you can either do it on the wall, where I'm going to go straight leg, or drop the knee. Or I'm going to start on a foot, about 45 degrees out. You can go bigger. You can even go to 90 if you can. And then I'm going to turn and press my chest. And I'm putting this arm on the inside of my knee right now because I'm trying to get a little bit wider here. And with my arm on the inside of the knee, you can see that I block it from coming in. So that helps me. If I go arm inside the knee and almost grab on the foot, then this is a way I can get a bigger stretch in here. Ankles and calves can be wicked tight and hard to stretch out. So that's why sometimes leaning into it or even putting your hand on your knee to help press that knee forward can be helpful to get that extra leverage in order to start getting into that deeper stretching position. Last side.
1/2 kneeling adductor ankle mob.
One other thing you'll notice with this one is that I play around with my foot position. The further out my foot is, the harder it is for me to get any ankle stretch, but the easier it is for me to get the groin stretch. If I pull my foot in more, I will get much less of the groin, but I can get a lot more on the ankle and hunt around here. So you can play with what feels best for you. There's lots of variations even within these specific movements that we can play with over the course of our time together and figure out what is going to work best for you. And again, I'm kind of hunting around a little bit, like shifting positions. I want my body to kind of map this, my brain to map this area. So these little movements actually feel good, and they feed more sensory information to my brain, almost like I'm drawing a blueprint of how that area of my body is working. So we just went through our sequence. I'm gonna stand back up. Remember, we started at about halfway down, then we got about 3/4 of the way down the shin. So hopefully I'll see some more improvements here. Bam! Got down to the floor. So I know that in general, I responded pretty well to those stretches today. But again, if you look at the live video stream, kind of explaining the theory behind this, neurological changes in the brain can happen very rapidly, but changes to the actual structure of the body take many repetitions and inputs over time. So I might have this range of motion for a little bit here, but then if I go sit down at my desk and slouch over for 4 hours, might not feel great standing back up because I might have gone back the other way. But it doesn't mean that it's not good to continue to practice this stuff, continue to learn these ranges of motion. What we found is that as people develop more and more strength and awareness through their full range of motion, the greater percentage of their actual range of motion is available to them at any given time. You'll hear this with people that are can do the splits. Once you learn how to do the splits, and if you get strength there and build it the right way, a lot of times those people can still come back and hit the splits years later, even with very little training to sustain it. So this was our first video class on flexibility for the inflexible, trying to teach you some of these techniques. Start with some stretches that hopefully you found you could navigate pretty well. If anything in here didn't feel good, reach out, let us know. We can come up with another variation. It moved pretty quickly. I think this video is gonna be 20 minutes long, but it felt fast for me. And I'm sure we'll all get better at filming these and going through this as we work through it together. So thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one.